That's 15 months of the plane waiting for stupid parts and work done. We are looking at a grand total to repack our parachute on our G1 SR20 of Good morning, JR Aviation. So today in this video, I'm going to catch you up on the dumpster fire of a situation regarding our Cirrus SR20 here. You guys haven't seen this plane on the channel in a very long time, and there's a reason for that. There's a lot of reasons for that. I'm gonna explain them all today. I'm gonna share a lot of bad news regarding this plane, but don't worry, there is some good news in this video, so you gotta watch till the end. It's sad seeing this plane in this state, honestly. This plane has not flown since March 31st of 2023. Nearly a year this plane has been down, illegal to fly, unairworthy, because the parachute is expired. No, we never used it. No, there's nothing wrong with the parachute other than it's expired. So if you didn't know already, all Cirrus need to have their parachutes repackaged every 10 years, no matter if you use the parachute or not, if that makes sense. But as of the last few years, the parts availability has been honestly horrendous. So bad actually that Cirrus gave a 1-year extension. I don't know if it's all the planes, but our planes certainly. So we actually had 11 years. So our plane's from 2002, add 10 years. It was repacked in 2012, add another 10 years. Okay, due in 2022, plus the 1-year extension due in 2023. March of 2023. So this plane was just one horrible timing thing after another, after another, after another. So I'm gonna try to keep this video all about the parachute, but it's important to mention a few other things regarding this plane because there's quite a bit that we have never mentioned on YouTube before. So I'm quickly gonna give you guys an entire recap of our ownership with this plane, all of the problems and issues we've run into and where we're at present day. So you're probably thinking we've owned this plane for about 6 months or something like that. That's when we posted the videos revealing this plane. Not so fast. We actually bought this plane over 2 years ago. There's a reason I never posted videos with it originally, because when we got it home, it had very, very few squawks. It was really, really solid, but we wanted the mechanic to look at a couple things. So he fixed those couple things, but then when the mechanic went to go for a first startup, just to verify everything's good to go before he hands us back the keys, it like wouldn't start. It wasn't getting fuel properly. So he diagnosed that to be a fuel pump. So he said, hey guys, it's gonna need a fuel pump. Well, guess what? It's not as easy as just calling up Cirrus and buying a new fuel pump. So he sent it to this one rebuilder. He says, well, I'm waiting on parts to be able to rebuild it. You know, give me like a few weeks. So a few weeks go by, nothing. And he's like, oh, still waiting on parts. Sorry, nothing I can do. They're just taking a really long time. So a few more months go by, and we don't think too much of it, but it's really frustrating because it's an ideal flying season. January, February, March, April, May of 2021. So we're missing out on this opportunity to be training in the plane in the weather that permits it here in Arizona. In the summer, this plane is basically useless. 5, 6 months. We're like 6 months to rebuild a fuel pump. You've got to be kidding me. This cannot go on any longer. So sure enough, we forget about it again, and it's about 7 or 8 months at this point. And we said, okay, that's it. Like we called the rebuild shop that our shop sent the fuel pump to. We just said, give it to us straight. And they're like, okay, well, we're still waiting on parts, yes, but we have like 50 fuel pumps ahead of yours waiting for rebuild as well. So we're like, holy crap, we're number 51 in line. Like, absolutely not gonna happen. Like, send it back to us, we'll find somebody else. So I called my friend Fish. You guys know Scott. He came out to do the work on our first SR20 long time ago video. So he says, I got the guy for you who can rebuild that fuel pump. So I give him a call and they said, yeah, we have all the rebuild parts on the shelf. There's no delay here. So I'm like, oh my gosh. So we immediately mail the fuel pump over to them. Sure enough, within like a week, they're done with it. They return it back to the shop and they install it. Not to mention, we had to wait for the shock absorber hockey pucks, I call them, pieces of rubber. That was like another thing we realized we needed. Can we even see them? No, they're tucked up there. They're like the shock absorber for the front nose. These little 3 pieces of rubber, again, not only do they cost like 1,500 bucks, but they are also 10 months out. So in total, after the 3 times flying this plane home, the plane was immediately down for 11 months. And if you know how plane inspections work, you have to do an annual every year. So 11 months of sitting, guess what? We were due for a new annual. Our fresh annual was now an expired annual. So we had to do an annual inspection. But then again, just to get an annual inspection done, that's another couple months. So the dumpster fire continues. Do the math. If we bought it December 27th of 2021, we got the plane keys March 27th of 2023. That's 15 months of the plane waiting for stupid parts and work done before it was ready to fly again after buying it. Like, how crushing is that? No wonder I never posted videos on this thing, because I was so depressed I didn't even want to talk about it. It was so frustrating. But we haven't even gotten to the best part yet. The whole point of this video, talking about the real juicy drama, and that is that just 4 days after getting the plane back, after waiting for 15 months, it became unairworthy because of the parachute. What? You just can't catch a break on this thing. Now here's where we are to blame. Obviously we knew there was a shortage with parts going around, but we figured like maybe a parachute wouldn't be as backed up because you're spending over $20,000. You ought to be able to get the parts, right? No, not so fast at all. They have just as bad of a parts delay, and in hindsight, obviously hindsight's 2020, we should have ordered those parts far in advance, knowing that we'd be coming up for a parachute. We didn't. I don't know. The plane was out of sight, out of mind. We were so frustrated with the whole situation after over a year that we just didn't even want to think about it, honestly, at that point. We were trying to forget about it, hoping that the time would go by quicker. But in doing that, we forgot to order these parts months in advance, and now we pay the price. So let's continue. We fly the plane for a whopping 4 days. We filmed those training videos in it. You guys remember that training for our first flight lessons in our SR20? Yeah, that was filmed in that 4-day period. We flew the plane a lot. I mean, just maximizing our time with it. And I know a lot of people are probably commenting right now,
big whoop, it's a parachute. I would just fly the thing. Just bend the rules a little bit.
Okay, yeah, I'm sure people are gonna say that, but obviously we're not gonna do that. That's asking for trouble, liability nightmare, breaking the rules nightmare. I'm not trying to get in trouble. There's a Cirrus right there. And get this, the heavier Cirruses, the ones with the higher max gross takeoff weight, 3,600 pound CRI, I hear the weight for parachutes is even worse. Be sure to comment down below if you have experience with repacking your parachute. Please, how long did it take for the parts to come in, and how much did it cost? I've heard horror stories on the new planes that it could be up to 2 years on the parts. So I guess we're grateful that this one's only a year out on the parts. Oh boy. So anyway, we didn't want to break any rules. We wanted to do everything by the books, so we just, we parked it March 31st. That was the last time this airplane flew, and since then, we've been waiting on parts. Get this, when we ordered those said expensive parts, once again, we were told, okay, we're expected to have them in June or July. Not great, but not bad, you know, a few months. And that the plane will be done at the end of July, possibly the beginning or middle of August. So we said, okay, you got a deal. And we sent over a massive check to order the parts. Let's pull out that quote exactly, and let's share with you guys the obscene costs. Alrighty, had to step inside so you guys can see and hear me really well, because we are talking numbers. So pay attention, because everybody wants to know what's the actual cost of repacking a parachute. Let's get into it. Okay, so we shopped this around quite a bit. We did not want to just call up the first place and say, okay, you got a deal. In fact, it's really wise we did that, because no hate or anything, but the local place here in Arizona, there's different sales tax rules, and in Arizona they have to charge tax on the parts. So 8% of a massive number is a lot of tax money, so they said nothing we can do about it. Whereas Colorado doesn't charge tax on the parts. So we specifically shopped around the few states around us. Arizona was immediately ruled out, the one service center here that is certified to repack parachutes. They seem like great guys, and I've heard great things, but the quote came back at about $28,000. We're like, what? What happened to like 12, 15 grand that we heard about, you know, years ago when we first got our Cirrus? Obviously, inflation, prices have gone up, but 28,000, double, no, no, no. So we said, thanks, but no thanks. And then we called around to a place in California, similar thing, 26, 27,000. We called around to a couple other states, 23, 24,000. We're getting better, you know, that's progress. And then once again, our buddy Fish recommended Arapahoe Aero in Colorado, Denver Centennial Airport, and sure enough, because like I mentioned, no sales tax, their quote came in at by far the lowest price. So let's break this down. Number one, we got the parachute assembly. That is $6,120. The rocket motor, the 3,400 pound gross weight variant, was $4,260. The link kit, frangible link kit, $309. The kit retrofit elk ink avid, whatever that means, $1,431. The Cirrus rocket retrofit, $1,050. And the caps enclosure G1, $156. So just for the parts, that's $13,478.75. The freight to ship all that, $1,300. Supplies and handling, $367. That's the total for just the parts. And that is what I had to mail off a check for 11 months ago. They said for us to, lock you into the schedule, you need to put up the money to buy the parts. I get it, makes sense. But that was a very expensive check I had to hand over all those months ago for 15,000 bucks under the assumption that the parts would come in 3 months. Like I said, obviously that did not happen. Anyway, let's continue. So the total labor, you're probably wondering, how much labor is required to replace the parachute? Well, 43.5 hours, according to the guys at Arapahoe, and at $130 an hour labor rate, that means $5,655. Add all that together with no tax, thank you Colorado, we are looking at a grand total to repack our parachute on our G1 SR20 of $20,801.33. Much cheaper than the other quotes, but still, that one was a gut punch. 20,000 bucks, and that's a deal at that. We got in early. I'm sure it's even higher now. Go ahead and comment down below. I'm sure it's 25 grand by now because they keep raising the price on the parts. So these numbers might already be out of date and too low, but still, 20,800 bucks divided by every 10 years you got to do it. That means that Cirrus costs an extra $2,000 a year just in parachute reserves. Guaranteed, there's no way around it. You can't fly it and just not replace the parachute. So you're kind of stuck paying the money every 10 years. You got to budget that couple grand a year, and that's, there's pros and cons to the parachute. Obviously, it's a great safety backup tool that you can have at your disposal, but it comes at a price, and it's a yearly price, whether you use it or not. Also, one thing on this quote, I'm not sure if this includes the extra body work. If you didn't know already, G1 only, the first generation SR20, there's no rocket panel access cover in like the fuselage. So it sounds crazy, but you have to rip it on out of there. It's ruined. You have to patch over it to redo the body work. You have to repaint that whole area. There is no easy access. They quickly updated that in generation 2. So that's another thing. If you have a G1, you have to pay, I think it's 2-3 grand in body work to repaint that area and get it all looking like it never even happened. So I'm not sure if that's included in this quote. I don't think it is. Oh well, I'll look in my email when I edit this video. However, remember how I said in the beginning of this video that I have good news? Yeah, well, let's get into that. Let's get this vlog going in a positive note. So after waiting those 11 months for the parts to show up, I finally got an email the other day saying, hey, good news, your parts showed up. So obviously this was very welcomed news, and I immediately replied with, that's fantastic. All right, I'll get a ferry permit and I'll have it up there within a week. And they're like, not so fast. You're not first in line. There's some other people who need to get their parachutes repacked as well, and they're going first. I was, I think, third in line, and they just got a big shipment of all the parts, like all at once. They didn't come one at a time. They got a bunch of them all together, but they can't just do 4 at the same time. They can only do about 2 at any given time. So the first 2 people go first in January. The whole month of January was dedicated to those 2 planes. And then finally, our plane is up the second week of February, current day when I'm filming this video. Bummer I had to wait an additional month even when the parts showed up, but is what it is. I'm not gonna complain too much. After owning the plane for 26 months, we have flown it in total 5 days. What? Because every single one of the other 745 days, the plane was unairworthy. That's terrible statistics. And this is not a hate video for Cirrus. In fact, I really enjoy Cirrus. I love their planes. This is gonna be a great plane once it's all back together. And it's just unfortunate that some stuff decided to break. Actually, I mean, yes, I really like Cirrus, but honestly, guys, I can still like their company and say that they need to most certainly pick up their game when it comes to the parts. We have waited so long consistently on so many different parts. It's one thing if it's just one part that's backed up, if it's just the parachutes. But like I said, the stupid hockey puck shock absorbers. I waited 10 months for those. They're pieces of rubber. And my plane is down for 10 months. Love the brand, but you guys, if anyone's watching here from Cirrus, you gotta pick it up when it comes to the parts. So what do you guys think? After over 2 years of owning a plane and being able to fly it 5 days of those 2 years, would you still own the plane? Would you be excited to have the plane back? Or would you have sold it? It is what it is. We got a great deal on the plane. We can still make money on the plane. Obviously, we're gonna be flying it a lot when it's back. So let's talk about that when it's back. So obviously, we're pulling it out today. We're about to wash it. I'm just warming up in here before we go back out. It's really cold out there. And Sean and I are gonna knock that out. We'll get it all clean. And then we'll take it to Colorado. Well, not will. Only one person's allowed on the ferry permit. So Sean will take it up there. We got that approved with the FSDO. So we are legal, ready to go. So if all goes well, in about a couple weeks, we should have this plane back, new parachute, airworthy, ready to go, ready to hit the skies for training. And I cannot wait. Hey man.
Yeah?
Yeah,
What?
I hate to break it to you, but aren't you forgetting that right when you get the plane back, it's gonna be due for another annual? Okay, he makes a good point. When the plane gets back, we will have it for only 3 weeks before it is once again unairworthy because it needs an annual inspection done. I guess we got ourselves into this one. We didn't have to buy a plane that was gonna be due for a parachute and an engine soon, but we did because the price was right. So I'm not complaining. Oh geez, the engine, I forgot about that. Oh no, knock on wood. I swear, how do I say this? I really, really hope the high time engine hangs in there, because if that engine comes up on overhaul, I think at that point I would just quit with that plane. It would be down for another like 6 to 8 months getting the engine rebuilt. That's all I need right now. Please, please, plane gods, don't do this to me. It runs great, so hopefully nothing happens to it because I really don't want the plane to be down for another year. I've been waiting to post this update video for so long. Everybody's been asking,
Where's the Cirrus? What happened to the Cirrus? Why aren't you flying the Cirrus? Why has it been parked?
and I didn't yet want to post a video about it because I didn't just want it to be some angry, sad, frustrated video saying, I'm waiting on parts. Boo-hoo, that's a really boring update. At least in this video, you get caught up to speed, you get real numbers on the cost, you get real updates with exact time frames, when the plane's gonna be back, and some action of the plane actually flying in this video. So speaking of that, let's get to the action. Let's get washing the plane. Let's help Sean finish the pre-flight as we watch him board the plane, headed to Centennial, Denver, Colorado, and I'll tell him to grab a few clips in the air. So stay tuned to the end. Let's get to washing. This will be the first wash in over 2 years. Oh, poor plane. Look at that. Ugh. Nasty. Oh man. Cue the cinematic edit. All right, now that's what I'm talking about. This is how clean the plane should be. You appreciate that, huh, Cirrus? All right, you've done us pretty dirty the past couple of years, but let's hope the next 2 years are gonna be better, all right? No more dirt, perfectly clean glass. That's how it's supposed to be. This thing cleaned up pretty good. All right, and check it out like clockwork. The fuel truck just showed up. We are loading up with some very expensive 100 low lead here at our home base. We never fill up here for a reason because it's $8.75 a gallon, which I'm pretty sure is one of the most expensive fuel airports in the country. So yeah, good thing it's not like the Citation needing 500 gallons, so 54 gallon tanks, it won't be that bad. All right, but with the fuel truck here, that means, Sean, you're about to leave. That's the last step, right?
Yes, sir.
So what's the game plan?
We're gonna bring the beast back to life. I'm gonna hop out of here. We're gonna do, the airplane hasn't flown in almost a year, so really I'm just gonna do maybe one like circuit above the airport, make sure everything's how it should. Then start making my way to the northwest, or to the northeast. Go to the south side of the Rockies, I think. I'll have him insert the screenshot of the route that I've got planned.
All right.
But yeah, with the full tanks, we'll have plenty of gas to get there, about 135 knots. and should take about 4 hours to get there. So don't anticipate anything going wrong flying this airplane for what, 15 hours?
But unfortunately I can't go with you because, like we said, we like to follow rules, and the rule is ferry permit.
Ferry permits can only have one person on board.
Yep,
so.
only necessary crew, which in this case,
crew, yep.
one person. So this sucks. I would love to log the time. Shout out to the local FISDO. They were actually really cool. So they worked with us to get all the paperwork squared away. So this is a 100% legal flight. Obviously, it's in annual, but again, parachute is due. So yeah, we'll be right on time. Sean will make his commercial flight home, and then in about a week or two, we're gonna film picking this plane up, of course, and then we'll all fly back together. All right, our chief test pilot.
Something like that.
Safe travels, man. Enjoy. I know you like this plane when you flew it, so
oh yeah,
hopefully it's a nice little flight. It's a little downgrade from your Malibu time recently, but well, enjoy. All right, safe flight. All right, there she is. Wow, it's so good to see this plane run again. And it's about to hit the skies in just a minute. We'll catch it flying over, and he'll be on his way to Colorado. All right, I see a Cirrus. Is it him? That sounds awfully good. Is that an SR20 with the bigger engine? Hey, yeah, there he is with the wing rock. That is us. Dang, that thing sounds good. Oh, she's looking good. Okay, so of course the GoPro failed to capture the inboard audio, but Sean is showing the flight plan here. As you can see, he's entering New Mexico here shortly. And if you look down at the bottom, he is at 140 knots over the ground, which is really good for this plane, only burning about 9 gallons per hour. Get a little bit of a tailwind, which is always welcome, about 5 knots. So truing out at about 135, which is typical for this plane lean of peak. Anyway, he texted me that the plane was squawk free, had no issues, was flying great, good temperatures, everything was operational. So that was great to hear. I was tracking his flight the whole time. Obviously, he's got some beautiful scenery here over Arizona, New Mexico, and of course entering into Colorado, where you have the beautiful Rocky Mountains and some very high terrain. Look at that 14,700 foot peak there. So he was dodging and weaving these mountains, going through some canyons, and ultimately going through the low points on his way to Centennial. That's why he took an easternly route. So it took him just a hair under 4 hours, and we'll catch him on the ground.
Hour and 38 minutes to go. We're start making our way northbound here in a little bit. Still performing beautifully. You see the Rockies way ahead there. Hopefully this parachute repack doesn't take long, and we'll have a nice airworthy Cirrus again until it has to go back into annual.
And just like that, here we are at Denver Centennial Airport. The Cirrus did fantastic. Flew like a dream, and now let's get this thing airworthy again.